Jamie, what would you say to someone who heard today's sermon and through self-examination really has to admit that they're struggling with a mindset of materialism and they really want to change?
The first thing I'd say is join the club. I mean, I don't say that in a dismissive way, but just in the fact that I can imagine living in the culture that we live today and not at some point struggling deeply with materialism. I've been a Christian for about 30 years. I've been a pastor for 20 years, and I struggle with it. And I'm surrounded every day by Bible teaching, Bible preparation. I'm surrounded by people who remind me who I am and what I am, and yet I still struggle with it. So I know if I struggle with it, the rest of us are going to struggle with it as well. And so the first thing I would suggest is just to be gentle with your soul and admit that that's an okay struggle and that God surely understands that too. But then the second thing I would do is to allow the materialistic focus and the words that we looked at Jesus today to really give you a grief and a sorrow that we fall and prey to that. Because I do think it is a big deal. The Bible in 2 Corinthians makes a distinction between what it calls worldly sorrow and godly sorrow, and that worldly sorrow leads to death, but godly sorrow leads to life. And to me, sometimes that's the difference between, shaming myself and focusing on me, and how bad that is, versus just allowing a good, healthy sorrow and guilt to penetrate my soul and say, this is just not healthy. It's not healthy to be that way. I'd encourage you to allow a godly sorrow to enter in and just say, God, I don't want to live this way. I don't want to numb my soul. I don't want to chase after things that don't last. Help me. And then once you do that, and we didn't talk about this as much today because we were trying to more pry our fingers off materialism today, once you start to detach from the things of this world, learn to attach to God. Simply put, spend more time with Him in quiet time, in Bible reading. Catch yourself next time you're at a store, and I challenge you to ask God and say, God, what would you have me do with this purchase? Or even as a pastor friend of mine from Detroit does very often, he says, I analyze every week, have I said no more to my soul than I've said yes when it comes to material things? And that if you find yourself saying no more often than yes, you're probably in a good spot. So when was the last time you actually said no to yourself? Do exercises like that. Hold yourself accountable with those around you. Admit to them, to a safe group of people, that you struggle with buying too much stuff and focusing on too much stuff of this world. And ask them to start to speak into your life and to encourage you. Maybe ask them to own their own materialism. I think there's lots of things we can do to try to combat this. The first step is to get honest. And I hope you have done that today. I hope we all have. And from there, let's just, linking arms together, focus more on Christ and the things that He would have us be about, the purposeful, peaceful things that He gives us when it comes to His kingdom.
Thank you, Jamie.